And welcome back. When we talk about the Bay Area and California's agricultural past, we usually end up talking about the aerospace and high-tech industries that essentially took over. So that makes our next segment even more interesting. Boys raised around the farming industry grow up and then move on to be very successful in electronics, and I mean big successes, then take that high-tech knowledge to return to farming. Joining me right now is the co-founder and chief executive of Ecopia Farms, Dr. Koichi Nishimura, and the other co-founder, chairman of the board, Sam Araki, the boys I was talking about. Thank you both for being here. Now, I don't want to date myself, but the only show I could really think about that reminded me of what you guys did was Green Acres. Now, I'm joking a little bit, but it was about a big city guy who went off to be, the simple life of farming and things like that. Ko, give me an idea. First of all, you had a successful career in electronics, first with IBM, and then as a CEO of Selectron. Impressive accomplishments. And Sam, you were at Lockheed Martin Missiles and Space, and in fact, you played a role in developing the nation's first operational photo reconnaissance satellite, and you were president of the company when you retired. So let's start with Ko. First of all, what was your background, your family background in terms of farming?
Well, we've got a pretty interesting family background. We're from Sendai. Yeah, you're familiar with it. Most people are now because of the earthquake in Fukushima. And my grandfather's family was a very large farmer in Sendai, and he was the number 5 son. So you can imagine he gets nothing in the old days. And so he was a very interesting person. It turned out he happened to be a number 5 son, but he's also a graduate of Tohoku University. And so he came off to America. And with a good farming background, he started a nursery, one of my grandfathers. So that's the grandfather on that side. My other grandfather came from Yamanashi. And he's from the farms, and they farmed in Gardena, California. And
what was their specialty?
They grew they would truck farm, basically, and typically a Japanese family. And my dad, he's a University of California Davis graduate in ag engineering. So you could see how the farming, this thing continues in our family. My uncle, Shinpei, he's a professor. His background is photosynthesis, plants. Wow. Also, he was an expert on cuttings because he helped my grandfather. And I don't know if you're familiar with World War II, but we were in Manzanar, and there was the Guayuli project where they grew this shrub, desert brush that yielded about 1% natural rubber. And when the Japanese cut off the rubber supply because they captured all the plantations in Malaysia. So there's an extreme amount of farming in my background, except for myself.
But I can see where the technology and the started to kind of seep in. How about you, Sam? What was your family's background in terms of how they got into farming?
Well, my dad was came to this country and became a gardener at a large estate in Saratoga. In fact, we live right now about a mile away from where I was born.
Oh, yeah. My uncle was in Belmont.
So I have spent basically all my life, except for the period in camp, and then I worked in LA for quite a while. And so, but going back to my dad, as a gardener, he got to know the estate owner's son, or nephew, rather, and they got along very well, and they sort of experimented with different fertilizer because this estate had a huge garden and a large orchard. And so in the process of doing this, they really started to study organic farming. And
any secret ingredients there that made them so successful?
Well, what happened was as my dad began to get interested in this, the estate owner, his name was Kirkwood, got to thinking about, you ought to go start a business. And so he made arrangement with a company in Japan to import fertilizer from Manchuria. So he started a fertilizer business, and guess what? One of the products that he imported was bat guana.
Bat dung?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how did you guys end up starting? What are you able to take from your experience in that world to back to farming?
Well, of course, Sam came through the aerospace side with a lot of technology. I came through the electronics side and the computer side. And my background is I'm an electrical engineer by background, a material scientist. And so I've got background in technology, light-emitting diodes. And so they came about the right time. Sam and I, we both retired, and we're looking for something to do together. And so we got into looking at indoor farming.
What about this? The products that we're seeing here. What's the advantage that you're bringing to these products?
Well, it turns out these products. Well, I'll tell you the best thing about what we do. It turned out that we weren't soiled, by the way. Very few, if not the only one of the very few. And we're soil-based, and it turns out that partly luck, partly, you know, we formulated, but really great tasting vegetables. I mean,
organic.
when the domain experts in this area, they all tell us this is really great, and it's unique. And we do it with 3% water on normal farm uses, maybe 4% of the land. So we think we're onto something here. And
we're going to keep our eye on what you guys do. Yeah. And congratulations on what you've accomplished so far, both professionally as well as personally. On a very personal level, that's very great.